That's Return of the Mac again from Mark Morrison. I know I played it a couple weeks ago on the show, but I figured I wanted to run it out again because I enjoy the song. I was thinking about it this week. Since a week here in the United States, and we elected a brand new president-elect in President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So sighs of relief here in the Democrat, liberal, snowflake, whatever side you want to call us about everything. So we're good on that. Oh, forgot to turn my flamingo on. Oh, well, he's okay. We can take a break this week. He's drunk, partying too much. Anyway, this is a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 375, Return of the Dems. Democrats, making fun of Return of the Jedi, Return of the King, stuff like that. So the Democrats are back in the White House. There still might be a few lawyery issues, but the Republicans seem to be distancing themselves from that a-hole in the White House right now. And he's had a number of losses already. So we'll see what happens. It's still, they won. They're official. It's the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States have been picked, brand new ones. And we just have to wait and see now what happens. Because the lame duck period of about 2.5 months, the new president and vice president do not take power until January 20th at 12 noon. So we still have a little ways to go. But it's party time right now. If you go around everywhere, there's partying in New York City, Washington, D.C. The victory came from Philadelphia, so we got that. Georgia and Atlanta helped out a lot also to get us to where we're going. They still haven't called Georgia for Biden yet, but it's only a matter of time. Same with Arizona and Phoenix, they helped out as well. They're going to be calling for Biden pretty soon also, so he's just going to keep increasing his lead now. So we'll see what happens. But it was a hard week, interesting week. Election day was on Tuesday, and the vote was too close to call. When I went to bed on Tuesday night, it looked like that asshole had pulled off a miracle victory because he seemed like he was winning everywhere. But that was before the write-in votes and the early voting in some states counted. And then before you know it, in the next morning when I woke up, I saw, well, wait a second, this is a game. And the magic number of 270 in the outdated and antiquated, and we need to get rid of it, Electoral College of 270 was not reached until about, I guess, 10:45 this morning when Pennsylvania was called for Biden, and that pushed him over to 273. And then soon after that, Nevada came in for Biden as well to make that 279. So now we're still waiting on, as I said, Arizona, Georgia, which could very well possibly both go to Biden, which would push him into the 300s. And then North Carolina is probably going to go for Trump, so that'll pick him up a little bit, but not enough to catch up. So we have a new president-elect. His name is Joe Biden. We have a new vice president-elect, and her name is Kamala Harris. She is the first African-American / Asian-American woman to be vice president. And watching their speeches today, it kind of made me think that this is an end of an era. It looked like when Obama took over that things were going to be changing in our country, but unfortunately they didn't. We had 8 great years, and then we had this charlatan a-hole come in and ruin everything that happened over the last 8 years and 4 years. So what do you need to bring us back to where we need to be progressive and get better? You bring in an old white guy who was part of the black guy's presidency, and he's a guy who's been in office for many, many years, knows all about it, is the perfect candidate for this time in the United States. Got elected, picked a female person of color to be his vice president, which then leads me to believe that that's going to open the gate. If he is able to make it through these 4 years, gets reelected, makes it through another 4 years, and has an 8-year period, Kamala could very easily run for president in 16 years. Rather, I'm sorry, in 8 years, and probably win it, depending on how well things go. If not, Alexandra Akosha, AOC, could roll in there. She will not be eligible to run for re-election until I don't think 2024, maybe 2032, but we'll see. So she might. So we're going to start seeing more. And then the rumor now is that the Republicans are trying to get away from Trump, so they're thinking of possibly sending out Nikki Haley, a white female, to run for the Republican nomination in 2024. So lots of things going on, so we'll see what happens. But I'm not spending this whole episode talking about Election Day. I'm going to talk a little bit about my Halloween review, about what happened this past Saturday on Halloween. I don't think I covered it in the show because I don't watch the show anyway. So did I cover it? Yeah, I did actually. Never mind. So yeah, nothing, because I did talk about losing my old faithful inflatable Halloween inflatable, but I did today put out my Gobbers turkey inflatable, which will be sitting out there until Black Friday. Then Black Friday, I would put out my Christmas ones. I got a couple of Christmas ones. I got new Santa Claus ones, and I got some smaller ones in the back there. So those will be going out on Black Friday. So it's coming up soon, but not now. We are only on, the 6th of November? 7th? I think it's the 7th, actually. November 7th. So we still got, let's see, it's Saturday. So 21 days. Let's see, it's not 14 because that would be the 21st. That's when Camporee is for the kids. So it's 21 days. So 20 days to Black Friday, 19 days to Thanksgiving. So a little ways to go, but we're moving along though. So what are we going to talk about today? We've already talked some minutes about election stuff and so on like that. So I can go cut that off. We're going to talk about some Baby Yoda stuff. We'll talk about Des Bryant, caramel, a bed frame for cats, human tongue doppelganger, a Michigan couple who has quite a story to tell. An animal becomes a mayor. A Zombie Storm Part 2 is rolling through here. Starbucks got a lot of space stuff this week has been announced. We're going to talk a little bit about Michael J. Fox, some football stuff. Voodoo 2, the Mountain Dew that I didn't get a chance to try, has revealed what the flavor was, and now I'm even more pissed that I didn't get a chance to try it. Some more new food stuff. Some more movies shifting their dates. Scientists, we already talked about that. A new protein, a new food you can create out of thin air has been created. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We had some deaths, androids, Major League Baseball. A woman in labor does something absolutely crazy. Elon Musk is eyeing something that could destroy the entire world's economy. What else we got? What the hell is this? Oh, okay. Kate Winslet smashed a record. You'll be surprised by what it is. We now have the most viewed video ever, according to Guinness World Record, on YouTube, and it's not a Dylan Knows episode, unfortunately. We're only about well, we'll get to that in a little bit. It's quite an interesting thing. Crossbow murder, whale sculptures, gingerbread cookie. Looks like hot cocoa is the flavor du jour of this holiday season. Starbucks is releasing some new stuff, but they're also pissing off people as well. And the Lego Star Wars Christmas special trailer peaked this week, which was fantastic, and The Walking Dead is going to have their first ever Christmas special. Those are just some of the things we'll be covering today on Dylan Knows episode 375, Return of the Dems. Return of the Dems. So, let us move on. I missed this one last week somehow. This was supposed to be on last week's episode, but The Mandalorian is, and I'll be doing a review of Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. Haven't watched Episode 2 yet. That'll be soon. We were going to watch it tonight, but then we wanted to watch the President-elect's speech, which was outstanding, by the way. But Baby Yoda is continuing to show up all over the place. This is just one of many Baby Yoda stuff we're going to be talking about today, but there is now a remote-controlled Baby Yoda doll you can get now, which I think I might pick up for my daughter because she's a huge Baby Yoda fan. But you can remote control it by walking and doing things, stuff like that, so that should be pretty interesting to see and see where I can find it, see how much it costs. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Some local news. The Baltimore Ravens last week blew a chance to make a statement in the NFC North, or the AFC North, by beating, at that time, the undefeated Steelers. They did not, however. They lost 28-24. It was a shit show of a game, but the fact that it was this close is outstanding, and that the fact that we were leading 17-7 at halftime, it looked like we had this game in control, and then we lost it in the third quarter, is absolutely disturbing. But during a couple weeks ago, we picked up Dez Bryant, former Dallas Cowboy, outstanding wide receiver who hasn't played in about 3 years. We signed him to the practice squad. So last week he was watching on the sidelines and doing some stuff. And this whole week he practiced, and he has been removed from the practice squad and will be joining the Baltimore Ravens and suiting up as a wide receiver in tomorrow's game against the Indianapolis Colts. So there's some other Ravens news that we'll get to in a little bit. Excuse me. Baby elephants slap each other over the heads as they play. Their two baby elephants were playing, and they were slapping each other over their heads with their trunk. So at least you know that they have as much fun as anybody else does. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. Can I shoot this over here? Will it make... Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better view of the United States flag. There we go. I love caramel. Everybody knows I love caramel. My son has inherited my love of caramel as well, and he also loves Rice Krispie treats. So they have these Rice Krispie treats already made, pre-made at the grocery store now. So I get them for his lunch. That's for when he's doing schoolwork. Because even though they're doing virtual, they do get a break for lunch, so I do have we do have stuff for them for their lunch. But the Rice Krispie treats that are out in the grocery stores are now going to have a brand new flavor, the caramel chocolate chunk. Now I'm a huge caramel fan, and this actually sounds absolutely delightful. So I'm going to have to see if I can find some of these and get some for my son, and then steal them for myself. But the Rice Krispie treats have done a whole bunch of different ones as well. They did birthday cake, and they've done other flavors as well, M&M ones and chocolate ones, and so on and so forth. So the caramel chocolate chunk Rice Krispie treat sounds absolutely delectable and right up my alley. So I'm going to try to see if I can find some of these and gobble them all up before my son gets a chance to. Now, it took me a second to figure out what this actually was, but I saw a bed frame that has a place for cats to play while their humans rest. Now, what that means is the frame is the wooden part of it, and then you put the mattress on top of it. Now, the wooden part of the frame, at this particular frame, has a little cat maze, and then there's little entrance ways on the sides of this bed frame, so the cats can get in, and then they can run around and play in this little maze thing. The weird thing is that the mattress goes on top, but of course it's not going to crush the cats if it's going to be there, even if the couple's having loud, rambunctious, crazy physical sex. It's not going to crush the cats. Somehow it's able to keep the pressure off and give them plenty of room to run around underneath. But it's kind of weird because it's dark underneath the bed and it's a maze. So I don't know how fun that'll be for cats, but it is something that they can do. And it might be fun. I don't know. Or maybe they might find a place to curl up and sleep themselves. Yeah, so kind of interesting. Starbucks is not bringing back the gingerbread latte for the second year in a row. 2 years ago, they released a gingerbread latte, and multiple people absolutely loved it. They thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, or I should say probably since pumpkin spice latte. But last year, they didn't release it to the public. I think it was only released in Canada. This year, again, it's only released in Canada, so it has not been released into the United States for a second year in a row. They do recommend the cinnamon something latte, which would have a similar flavor to the gingerbread one. But Starbucks has released their holiday coffees this week, so you can go pick up your eggnog, cappuccino, or whatever. Your mint chocolate sort of blech. I hate mint chocolate flavors things, but well. So no gingerbread latte. I thought there might be, but no, not this time. For the second year in a row. Maybe next year. 3D printers are great, and science is using it for various different things. Well, apparently a bunch of scientists created a human tongue doppelganger, which is 3D printed. So I guess they created a tongue, and I don't know what they would actually use it for. I mean, I guess some people might lose their tongues, but would a 3D modeled tongue really react the same way as a regular tongue? Because the tongue does a lot of the taste, has all the taste buds on it. So I don't know how a 3D printed tongue would be able to do that. I guess also having this tongue helps speak as well, because when people have had their tongues cut out, they can't speak. They're here I'm a whole tongue is like. So just think about it. I did not have a tongue. How it sounds to this because my tongue is not moving around and trying to hurt. So I guess that's awesome, but I guess that might be maybe the only thing it could really be used for, because you really wouldn't get, unless I doubt there'd be sensing flavor. I mean, I don't know if our technology is that far advanced that they can sense flavors on a 3D printed tongue. And even if they could, how would you connect it to a brain neural network, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But it might just be to help people who either don't have tongues or whatever to talk, because as I just pointed out, you need your tongue to talk. So I don't know. We'll see. Jimmy Dean has created the new casserole bites in the frozen food section. They have two flavors. They are sausage, egg, and cheese casserole bites and French toast casserole bites. They're little bites, you put in the microwave or whatever, you cook them up and you just pop them in your mouth, and they're, chicken, as I said, is sausage, egg, and cheese or French toast flavored. So, my wife at Christmas time usually makes a sausage, egg, and cheese sort of casserole and a French toast sort of casserole. But she makes the actual casserole, not these little bite things. So maybe it's a way to make up for that if you don't have access to that. Meanwhile, the Green Giant, one of the biggest frozen food distributors in the world, has created a new brand of frozen vegetables called Veggie Fries and Veggie Rings. So basically, you can get veggie fries made from cauliflower and broccoli and stuff like that. And then veggie rings made with onions and other stuff as well. For those people who are vegan or don't want to try or want to be more healthy or whatever, you can now get these frozen veggie fries and veggie rings for your dining pleasure. Denver voters approved in this election on Tuesday, approved lifting a pit bull ban that has been in place for 30 years. So for 30 years, the city of Denver, so let's see, 30 years would make that 1990. Since 1990, you could not, I guess, apparently own pit bulls in Denver, Colorado. But that has been lifted, so now you can get pit bulls again, which is great because pit bulls are a vastly misunderstood dog, and they need to be treated just as well as anybody else. A Michigan couple who have 14 children, all of whom are male, welcomed their 15th child recently, Their first girl, 14 children. Their first child, this little girl's oldest brother, is 30 years old. So they, much like Denver with their pit bull ban, when Denver did their pit bull ban, this Michigan couple started having children. So their oldest child is 30 years old. Their youngest child was just born and is the only girl out of 15 children, 14 boys, 1 girl. 14 children in general is just absolutely insane, and that their oldest child is 30 years old, which leads me to believe that this couple started early, maybe 16 or 18, because if you waited and it was 30 years later, the mom would be in the 50s or so, and that's a dangerous area to have children in. 40s is a dangerous area to have children in. So we'll see what happens, but 14 boys and 1 girl. It's almost like it's the Weasley family, except doubled. Absolutely insane. So, oldest kid is 30 years old. The youngest is just a newborn. What the frig, man? Here's the weirdest story of the day. And my friend Gary might like this one. A man was banned from Yellowstone National Park after trying to cook chicken in one of the hot springs. Yes, chicken. I guess he just took a raw chicken pack and said, cook it for me. He felt like eating chicken while looking at the hot springs in Yellowstone. Yes, the hot springs are probably hot enough to cook chicken, but it is a natural spring with heat coming directly from the Earth's core. He tried to cook chicken in a hot spring at Yellowstone National Park. That's all I got to say about that. Page 2. Wendell Pierce, actor who's shown up in The Wire and a few other places, has played other famous people in biopics, has now been cast as B.B. King in a new biopic. The B.B. King family approved of his casting, so that's all well and good. So that'll be coming out very soon. Tom Holland shared a picture of his first day on the set of Spider-Man 3. He was dressed in a Spider-Man costume with a mask over his mask with a green screen around him. So either they're going to incorporate COVID into the next Spider-Man movie, or it was just a way to be safe while filming the film, and they can digitally remove it later on. So, but it was a neat picture. It looks like the costume is like It looks like Spider-Man's costume. It looks like Spider-Man. So, Spider-Man 3 is present, or whatever it's called, something home. Home is going to be in that somehow. Is presently being filmed right now. Just started filming, so be on the lookout for that. I think next Christmas is when, or Thanksgiving. It's either next Christmas or Thanksgiving, I think, is when Amazing Spider-Man is supposed to be out. Amazon is selling 8-foot-tall inflatable nutcrackers for your inflatable Christmas thing. They actually look really cool. And the one picture they had 2 of them guarding the doors of a house, which, you know, they're nutcrackers, so they look like they're soldiers. So they're guarding the house. It makes perfect sense. Excuse me for 1 second. Oh, excuse me. That was disgusting. I apologize. Let's see. Do I have that on the same page? Because there's another connection to nutcrackers on here. I just want to see if it is on here. I do not see it on this page, so it is probably on the next page. Yes. But we will come back to nutcrackers in just a little bit. So, but these inflatable nutcrackers actually look really, really cool. And they're 8 feet tall, so they're half the size of the 15-foot ones I've been telling you about with the Rudolphs and the Frosties. So they might be a bit more feasible for your home. Fantastic Beasts 3, continuing the Harry Potter saga, was supposed to come out in November of 2021, has now shifted to the summer of 2022, but that's not all. Due to a court ruling, Johnny Depp has been labeled as a wife beater, despite the fact that there's more to the case than just Johnny Depp beating his wife. Johnny Depp's wife beat him, and yet they're not thinking of banning her from Aquaman 3 or Aquaman 2 because Johnny Depp has been asked to quit by Warner Brothers from Fantastic Beasts from playing Gilbert Grindelwald. Has been asked to quit due to this court ruling that he can be called a wife beater, despite the fact that, yes, he might have hit his wife, but there have been court cases and kind of proof that he was doing it in self-defense, as his wife, Amber Heard, was abusing him, and yet she is still been cast in Aquaman 2, and Warner Brothers owns both franchises. So don't know what's going to happen with that. We'll see what's going on, because I really haven't heard much about Aquaman 2, and that might be because they probably aren't going to be filming it for a while. So maybe it'll give it time for either things to settle down. So either we're going to try to hope things are going to settle down and it not be a big deal, and they'll cast her and it'll be like water on the bridge, or they'll decide, let's do the same thing to be fair. Yeah, this has to fall off any minute, but I don't care. I'm feeling very patriotic. So that's the Fantastic Beasts news for this week. Reese's has, last week I talked about, I guess it's Toll House Cookies is doing one of those. I guess the new trend now is cookie skillet bake sets, where you can buy a skillet with a giant cookie on it and cook it for your holiday cookie pleasure. Well, Reese's is going to have one of those as well. So it's adding to the rest of all the other cookie skillets that are out there. I think I mentioned this maybe last year, because I think this came out last year, but I figured I'd drop it in again because this is just hell no. Shiitake mushroom flavored candy canes are a real thing. So if you like shiitake mushrooms and don't like peppermint candy canes, then here you go. Again, getting back to Baby Yoda stuff, I talked about the remote control Baby Yoda only about 10 minutes ago. Well, Hallmark is releasing a Baby Yoda Christmas ornament as well. So I figured I may as well have to get that for my daughter, get my daughter all the Baby Yoda stuff in the world. So we'll see what happens about that. Lindor Truffles. Those are the yummy chocolate things that usually have like a liquid center and that you pop them in your mouth. They've got all kinds of flavors. They're great. You can get them at any grocery store, really. Well, Lindor Truffles have offered a brand new holiday truffle. And as I said, every year there seems to be a trend about a certain flavor that becomes the hip flavor that everybody wants to do something with. It appears that this year hot cocoa is that flavor, because I have multiple hot cocoa stories coming up in this episode of Dylan Knows. And here's the first one. Lindor Truffles is going to offer a hot cocoa truffle that has a hint of vanilla flavor in it. So you'll be able to have the liquid chocolatey center, which is going to be I guess you mix a little bit of marshmallow flavoring into it, maybe some vanilla, and it'll taste like a hot cocoa candy. So that's interesting to see that. My wife and I went on our honeymoon. We went to San Francisco, and we stayed on the waterfront at a hotel that was right next door to Ghirardelli Square, which is the famous chocolate producing area in San Francisco. Now, what made it even more interesting was when we went up to the front desk to check in. They offered us a choice. Did you want a view of Alcatraz or a view of the Bay Bridge? Or San Francisco, Bay Bridge. So I told we looked at each other and said, we don't really want a view of a jail, even though it's historical. So Bay Bridge view. So we got a nice room. And we opened up the window, and sure enough, there in the corner was, a quick shot. You could see the Bay Bridge was far away, and it was in the corner. You could still see it. Like, oh, there's the Bay Bridge. It's pretty cool. But what was even cooler was if you shifted from that corner to the rest of the window, Ghirardelli Square was right there. So our window looked onto Ghirardelli Square, which was outstanding. And then we did some other stuff, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Anyway, but we did get to go to Ghirardelli a couple times. Obviously, it's right next door, so we can just walk out the door and be there in a minute, you know. But Ghirardelli also offers holiday candies and regular candies pretty much all year round. They have the little chocolate things that have, you know, caramel and stuff like that, and you can get them. This year, they also they do something called the squares, which are a little bit harder, crunchier like that. They have like a mint chocolate square thing that you do for the holidays. Well, they have a new holiday one now. Believe it or not, though, it is not hot cocoa, because the second flavor that is the popular flavor this year is sugar cookie. And the Ghirardelli is releasing a white chocolate sugar cookie square. So that could be pretty good. I like white chocolate, and to have it taste like sugar cookie, and to be sort of more this harder, crunchier sort of chocolate, should be good. Now, because it's 2020, we always have this situation. It seems like everything crazy is going on, and continues to be crazy for the remaining 2.5 months we have left. Anyway, I digress. Actually, it's not 2.5 months. It's 1.5 months. Anyway, earlier this summer, I should say, maybe it was only a couple weeks ago, possibly. Let me just fix this. We did a story about something that hasn't happened in a really long time called a zombie storm. It was a hurricane that hit the United States and caused some damage, stuff like that, and then dissipated and disappeared. But somehow it reformed and hit the United States again. I forget the name of that zombie storm. So if you're okay, that's kind of interesting. It's very bold happening, stuff like that. Hurricane season is supposed to end November 1st. It is November 7th. And Zombie Storm 2 is now coming. Hurricane Eta, yep, which is, of course, remember, we're doing the Greek alphabet now. Hurricane Eta, which hit the southern coast of the United States, has reformed as a Zombie Storm 2 and is going to hit the United States, the same location that it hit before, again early this week, Monday, Tuesday-ish. And by that time, again, the remnants will roll up through Baltimore, and we will get the remnants of that hurricane probably later this week. Let me see if we have the long-range forecast has a rain period. Yep, Wednesday is 100% rain. Thursday, 60% rain. Friday, 40% rain. So it looks like that the remnants of Tropical Storm Eta will be hitting somewhere between Wednesday and Friday, or possibly if it's still forming, maybe next Sunday. I don't think that's the case, though, because I think it is due to hit the New Orleans Gulf Coast places again early this week. So that would make sense. Wednesday through Friday, we would get some remnants of the storm. So Zombie Storm 2 is now out, and hopefully there won't be a Zombie Storm 3, because again, hurricane season is supposed to be over. To be continued. As you can see, he's not on tonight because he's too busy partying, and he's drunk, and he's crazy, and he didn't want to turn on. He's gonna crash, and he's partying and stuff like that. But I have Flamingo over there. That was a gift that was my first Christmas present. With my first Christmas with my wife's family. It was a joke gift, but I loved it. I called him Dimitri, and he still works, not great, but he's still great, and I love Flamingo. And then it was a joke for many years. They would get me Flamingo stuff all the time. I like flamingos. I always have liked flamingos. So it surprised me and kind of excited me when I saw that there is now Festive Flamingos, which you can get for your holiday decorations. It is a set of like 5 reindeer, or actually 4 flamingos. 3 of them look like reindeer, and 1 looks like Santa Claus. So it looks like Santa Claus is a flamingo. Maybe four flamingos. 3 of them look like reindeer, and 1 looks like Santa Claus. So it looks like Santa Claus is a flamingo and his reindeer are flamingos also. So that's available for your festive pleasure, and I'll have to see. Maybe I can find that. I doubt it, but maybe I can find it. Cookies and Cream Rice Krispies cereal is coming soon, maybe next year, but it is a new version of the Rice Krispie cereal. Every Halloween, well, actually, it's only the second Halloween in a row, Mountain Dew releases a mystery flavor. They don't tell you what the flavor is, and they put it out during Halloween. They call it Voodoo, D-E-W, and you're supposed to guess what it was. Last year was a very sweet flavored Mountain Dew that was supposed to be like a candy corn flavored Mountain Dew. I actually enjoyed it. Actually, I liked it a lot. But due to COVID this year, I was unable to find Voodoo 2. And they revealed this week what Voodoo 2's flavor was. And now I'm even more angry because I really, really wanted to try this Voodoo 2. And now that they tell me what it was, I'm even more angry. It is a Skittles flavored Mountain Dew. So that would have been a nice sort of flavor of Mountain Dew to try. Maybe if I get lucky, if I go to a Wawa Royal Farm store, maybe they'll still have some in stock. I doubt it, because Halloween is over, but still pisses me off that I will not be able to try Voodoo 2 because they didn't release Voodoo 1. So, oh well. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I guess, is a video game. A player somehow created a skate park that looks like Hogwarts. So that's kind of an interesting, to have the talent to do something like that. It's always kind of interesting to do that. That's part of, it's, I don't have a lot of science on this page. It's like on the next page. So this is the first of a bunch of science stuff we'll be talking about this week because science is cool again. It's a lot of space stuff too. There is an asteroid that's tracking after Mars, which very well could have been Earth's second moon. Apparently at one time, Earth had 2 full-size moons, like, the one we have now. And something happened, collision, gravitational pull, force, something, and knocked it out of the orbit around the Earth and sent it out past Mars. And now it's not orbiting Mars, but it's kind of following Mars, if you know what I mean. It's not close enough to be a moon of Mars, but it's following it's probably caught in its gravitational pull and it's following it around. So just think about what that could have been. What if the Earth had 2 moons? And there was actually a book I have, I think it's on my bookshelf back there somewhere. It was a bunch of what if science questions. I think one of them was, what if the Earth had 2 moons? There's also ones like, what if the Earth had no moon? I don't know. I don't remember what happened. I don't think it was anything too bad. The fact of the matter was that I don't think the way that the moons would orbit, I don't think both would be in the sky at the same time. I think we would see a moon during the day, mostly, and one at night. But now, other than that, it's all hypothetical because we don't have 2 moons. We have 1 moon. And Mars is the only one that has 2 moons. All the other planets have multiple moons. Jupiter has, 80. Saturn has 80. Uranus has like 50. Neptune has like 50. Pluto has like 8. Mercury has 0. Venus has 0. And we have 1. So who knows? Nobody knows what it's going to be like. But that is a kind of a big deal. So that's kind of neat. In other football news, John Gruden, coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and Mike Tomlin, coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, had both been fined by the NFL for breaking the COVID-19 rules. And Gruden, who's done it multiple times, also lost a 6th-round draft pick. So it just goes to show you that if you keep ignoring the protocols that you signed when you said, let's do this season. And they said, because of COVID, we have to play this season a little differently. If you ignore that, you're going to get penalized. Now, people thought they should have jumped right with the Las Vegas Raiders' second time they've been fined for stuff like this. They feel they should have lost more than a sixth, but hopefully maybe the third strike will be a second or a third if they do it again. And Tomlin got fined for not wearing a mask during the Ravens game last week. So a lot of people were like, well, then why don't you give us a few points instead of fining them? That way we could win the game. So not going to happen. But it was a typical beat down, tough it out, fingernail biting down to the last play Ravens-Steelers game, which makes the Ravens-Steelers one of the absolute best rivalries in sports, as well as in the NFL, despite what Jerry Rice says, but that's besides the point. But there we go. So good on that. Remember I was talking about hot chocolate? Dairy Queen has frozen hot chocolate now available for your pleasure. So there you go again. Some more hot chocolate stuff going on. Speaking of, we're talking a little more about space. NASA contacts Voyager 2, which was one of the satellites that was launched in the 70s, is now in interstellar space. They were able to actually contact Voyager 2 because they were testing a brand new, an upgraded deep space network dish. But the fact that they were able to contact Voyager 2, which is in interstellar space now, is absolutely amazing. So yay, science. Also science related, it has been discovered that platypuses, or platypi, or whatever you want to call it, glow green under ultraviolet light. So if you hit an ultraviolet light on a platypus, they would glow green. So that's something new that science didn't know about. So let's do some research on that and find out what's going on about that. A huge iceberg is bearing down on a British overseen island called South Georgia. It is an island in the Atlantic, but this iceberg is coming, and it very well, actually, no, it's not in the Atlantic. I think it's down. No, it is the Atlantic. It's the Atlantic when you get closer down to like Africa and stuff like that. But it's bearing down on an animal refuge, and they're thinking that if this iceberg continues on its trek, it could cause a lot of damage to this animal facility, including forcing animals not to be able to get their food, messing up the underwater stuff because of various reasons and stuff like that. So scientists keep an eye on that to see what happens there. Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, which is an actual location, has, in this past election on Tuesday, has elected a French bulldog named Wilbur mayor. It's, believe it or not, is not that unusual for an animal to be mayor. There's a cat mayor, I think, somewhere in Alaska, and another cat mayor someplace else. I think another dog mayor someplace else as well. It just basically, I think the mayor in these little towns is more of a figurehead, and the actual legal stuff is done by a committee. So it's just for a little bit of fun. But the actual mayor of what's that name of the place again? Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, is a French bulldog named Wilbur. So he's Mr. Mayor, French bulldog Wilbur. Michael J. Fox gave an interview, and he's saying he's probably never going to be able to act again due to his Parkinson's disease, because his short-term memory is pretty much shot now, so he cannot memorize stuff and doesn't remember a lot of things. So it's a shame, because Michael J. Fox was one of the better actors of our time. Great comedic actor, great comedic timing. Great comedic actor, great comedic timing. Also showed some very good dramatic chops. And it's a shame that he never won an Oscar. But maybe posthumously, or maybe not posthumously, maybe hopefully not posthumously, but maybe they'll be able to get him one down the line. As an honorary Oscar, they do sometimes for actors who've never gotten an Oscar and who deserve one. Um, Tenet, one of the only movies to actually try to attempt to come out during the summer. Actually, it was more of early fall in regular movie theaters once movie theaters tried to reopen during COVID-19. Worldwide, it made $350 million. Here domestically, it only made about maybe 20 million, probably something like that. But Tenet is finally now going to be available on Blu-ray, digital, and all that stuff on December 15th. So if you wanted to see Tenet but did not want to attempt to go to a movie theater, don't worry. You got about another month, and you'll be able to watch it from the privacy of your own home. It won't be on streaming yet, obviously, but you'll be able to get it via like a Netflix or whatever, but you can order it and you'll be able to watch it on one of the streaming services probably. But you'll have to pay for it. It's not free. Speaking of movies, Disney released 2 more date changes for the last 2 remaining films that were sort of clinging on to a 2020 debut, big films anyway. So now it appears now with these 2 movies leaving their December timeframes, there are no big movies scheduled to come out for the remainder of 2020. Those movies are Free Guy and Death on the Nile. Free Guy is the Ryan Reynolds film where he plays, not POC, but a character in a video game, one of the background characters in a video game, and how it becomes sentient and ends up screwing. It's like a Wreck-It Ralph sort of thing, except with a person. Looks funny, actually. It looks pretty good. That has been moved, as has Kenneth Branagh's Murder on the Nile. Death on the Orient Express was a film that came out a couple years ago. It had a different actor playing the Agatha Christie character, the detective. I forget his name right. And it did actually very well in movie theaters. So it was one of those things where they got a big cast, and it was gorgeously shot, and stuff like that. Poirot is his name. That's where it was, Poirot. So Kenneth Branagh decided that he wanted to do the next one because, hey, Agatha Christie's got plenty of Poirot novels that they can make into movies. And most have already been made in movies, but it's time for remakes because, why not? So Kenneth Branagh directed this version of it and was getting some good buzz. The trailer looks interesting. Death on the Nile. Both of those were going to be released by Disney in December. Both of those have now been removed from the schedule for dates to be determined. Basically, I think I'll just cover this right now. Disney, with the movement of these 2 films to 2021, Disney now has 23 movies coming out in 2021. That's bearing that movie theaters are open for business. People are going to go in there, and it's not going to be a continuation of what happened this year. The fact right now is that COVID cases are spiking all across the country, including in Maryland, where we were at one point at 2% positivity rate. We have now jumped back up to 4% positivity rate, still underneath the 5% the CDC put in place. But there are now multiple counties in Maryland that are over the 5% positivity rate. And there are many states that still are refusing, due to that asshole in the White House, to cover their mouths and are help spreading the disease. And we've had some of the most cases. I think we had 100,000 cases on Labor Day, or the day after Labor Day, of COVID pop up alone in one day in the United States. So COVID is not over by a long shot. They're still working on a what do you call it? A remedy, a shot, whatever. You know what it is. Vaccination. So maybe that'll help out. But right now, things are spiking and people are getting nervous again. So right now, as I said, with the movement of these 2 movies to an undetermined time in 2021, Disney has 23 movies coming out next year, which is an insane amount of movies coming out. But that's what it is. They're all the movies that came out that were supposed to be out this year, as well as some that were supposed to come out in 2021. So you mash them together, you're going to get 23. Now, some of the ones that are supposed to come out in 2021 have also been moved to 2022, but there's still some that are coming out that were supposed to come out in 2021 are still going to come out in 2021. So to me, if all goes fine and they open up movie theaters early, let's say in February, I think Free Guy, excuse me, should be a summer film like it originally was supposed to. Move it back to maybe its 4th of July weekend spot, unless you have something else there that you want to. That's the other thing is I don't know. I forget what else Disney's got going on. So, but I would move it to sometime in the summer, probably June or July, to do that. And Death on the Nile is one of those, probably would be a good Oscar bait sort of film. I would push that to maybe in October, because it is kind of a murder mystery sort of thing. So, why not? I think October would be a good month for that movie as well. So we'll see what happens. But 23 movies in 2021 will be released by Disney if all goes according to plan. Now, real quick, I want to tell everyone out there who's watching this, and there's not a lot of people, but those who are watching, just listen to me. The fact that we elected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is a big deal. And they're going to get us back to normalcy in the United States. However, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fast. And it's not going to be, like right away. So be patient, be vigilant, keep going. And don't be surprised that we have a, double take of what happened this year. But the fact is, once they get into office, their first order of business is to bring COVID down. And the only way to do that is probably to announce a shutdown of the United States. That would be really the only way I think you can get a hand on this. Don't bitch and moan and complain about it. Take it like a man. And then hopefully, if the Congress can get together, they can send out a stimulus that will help you during this time frame. Like I'm going to say in a few minutes, England has just voted that they are doing a stay-at-home order, which is similar to what we had in March of this year till about June, where you had to stay at home. Only essential employees could go into work, and they had the unemployment, get extra money to help take care of stuff like that. The UK is going back to that because they are hitting their second wave of COVID. And so I'll just have to find this again later on. So they're hitting their second wave of COVID right now. So they are shutting down. And I'm going to tell you right now that is probably going to be the only way to stem this tide. And I know the asshole Trumpers are not going to take this lightly, and they're going to ignore executive orders by the new president's committee. But the new president has got to do that, and he's got to get Congress to work together to give money to help people. Shut down, don't have people pay rent, don't have people have to pay their bills. Just the essential workers going to work, the others just, stay at home, wear your mask. If you have to go out, it's only very quickly, grocery store, something like that. Don't linger around places. If we do that, by the summer, we should be okay, and we might be able to get a chance to go out to swimming pools and the movies and stuff like that and enjoy the warm weather. But you will have to make some sacrifices. Do it. Do it. If you want this to end, do this shit. Suck it up and do it. I had to fucking do it from March to September. It's not all bad. It really isn't. Do it. Starbucks is going to have a cinnamon roll frappuccino on their secret menu. I keep bringing up new secret menu stuff every week, but hey, that one sounds pretty good. So you can get a cinnamon roll, one of those. What the hell is this? Okay, laborers find high-value diamonds in Madhya Pradesh mines, which is like somewhere in Africa or whatever, and they're going to be able to make some money off of them when they go to auction. So that's good for them. Loki We haven't seen the first season yet, but it's going to come out via Disney Plus. That is one you will be seeing because it will be out next year. It's going to be like The Mandalorian. It's going to be a TV show. It's already been filmed. They're editing it right now. It has been signed up for a second season. The second season is going to start filming in January, if all goes according to plan. So we're going to keep getting more Tom Hiddleston's Loki, which is fantastic. It's another week, another shoe story. Adidas has Cyberpunk 2077 shoes. I guess it's some kind of card game or video game or board game or whatever, but they are pretty cool looking shoes. Not as cool as the Ghostbusters shoes. Not as cool as the Ghostbusters one that we saw last week. AOC, Alexandra Ocasio, I forget what her last name is, the young senator she won her election, as did all the squad, so they're all back for another 4 years. So they're up and, or 2 or 4 years, I forget what it is, I think it's 4 years, maybe 2 years, I don't remember. But she's up for another 2 years. She's showing off her geek side. A couple weeks ago, she played the hit game Among Us, which is the new hit game out there for all the young people out there. My kids and my wife play that right now. I don't, because I just have no interest in it, to be honest. So she played it, and it was broadcast on Twitch. And so people were asking, that was fun. When are you going to do it again? She's like, well, when I get a second, but that might be cool. But then she threw something else out there. Apparently, she is also a Trekkie or Trekker, whatever you want to call it. And she wants to debate about an episode of Star Trek Voyager called Tuvix. And it was the one episode where Tuvok and Neelix were combined into a new life form, which they called Tuvix. And it became a story about wanting to separate them back to Tuvok and Neelix. But Tuvix had its own personality, soul, life, and they had to make a hard decision because they had created new life. Can they kill this new life to get back 2 more lives? And it was a great episode of Voyager. There were some actually really good episodes of Voyager out there. And so AOC wrote something about that on Twitter, and Catherine Janeway herself, Kate Mulgrew, that, and I thought that's excellent. So she wants to do that. That would be really interesting to see that. I would love to see that, and that's kind of cool. Grant Morrison, one of my favorite comic book writers, who is up and down. I was introduced to him in his Animal Man. It's like the first time I ever really saw him. He had been a British in 2000 AD, writing Zenith and a bunch of other these things that I never really read 2000 AD. But when he came over to do Animal Man, that was right when I was getting into DC again, and it looked really interesting. It had an interesting idea, so I bought that, and he trapped me into his story. Animal Man issues 1 through 26 are one of the absolute best storylines you're ever going to read in comics. And if I ever taught a class in comic books, that would be one of the ones I would have you guys read. Absolutely phenomenal story. And then he went on to do Doom Patrol, which when it came out, I was not a fan of it. But I've gone back since I've gotten older, and I've actually learned to like it a lot more on a second glance at it than I did originally. And then he's done a bunch of other stuff. He created his own comic called The Invisibles, which did really well. He's done a whole bunch of other books. He wrote The Flash for a little bit. He wrote Batman for a little bit. He did something called Final Crisis. He wrote Batman and Robin. He was a Batman writer for at least 5 to 10 years. So he had a big story arc he wanted to tell that included Batman Incorporated and stuff like that. And he now is presently writing Green Lantern, the Hal Jordan one. And I haven't read it yet, but it looks, from what I've seen, is absolutely insane. Anyway, he came out this week as non-binary. And honestly, I hate to show my ignorance, but I really don't know. Don't hate me. I don't really know what non-binary is. So let's see if there is a non-binary, not relating to, composed of, or involving just 2 things, relating to, using, or denoting a system of numerical. So basically it's not relating to, composed of, or involving just 2 things. So I guess it doesn't mean Non-binary or genderqueer is a spectrum of gender identities that are not exclusively masculine or feminine identities that are outside the gender binary. Non-binary identities can fall under the transgender umbrella since many non-binary people identify with a gender that is different from their assigned sex. Basically, a gender identity that is neither exclusively masculine or feminine. Androgyny is another good example of what that is. So that's what non-binary is. Okay. So I learn something new every day. I know I showed my ignorance. I probably should know what that was before this, but there we go. But he has come out as non-binary. So go for it, man. You be you. The trailer for the Lego Star Wars Christmas special was released this week, and it is absolutely outstanding. You get an idea of what the story arc is about. It starts off in the future Star Wars world with Rey and Oscar Isaac and Finn and all of them. And this takes place obviously after the Rise of Skywalker. And so they're celebrating Life Day, which is their version of Christmas. And Rey, meanwhile, is just doing some training or whatever. And she stumbles upon a cave where she discovers this weird key, which opens up a time portal that sends her to visit Luke Skywalker when he's getting ready to blow up the Death Star from the first Star Wars. And the Darth Vader and the Emperor discover this and try to steal the key. I guess maybe when she went back in time, they discovered whatever and try to steal the key so they can change the past to make it that Sith win. And so you're going to have a time traveling fun through the prequels, the original series, and the new series. You even get an appearance by the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. And it looks like there's a lot of fun. There's a sequence near the end of the trailer that has old Han Solo and young Han Solo shooting Greedo. And the joke about, do you want to shoot first? No, you go ahead and shoot first. Why don't we shoot both first together? And then they shoot Greedo first. So it's really clever. So check it out for yourself. Lego Star Wars Christmas Special. That will be out in 10 days, November 17th. So what I'll probably do is that weekend is when my wife and kids are going to go to Camporee and I have the weekend free. I might pop that Star Wars holiday special in on that day and check that out on that day. So it's well worth it. If you love Star Wars, if you love Lego stuff, if you love humor, go ahead and check it out. I mean, Kylo Ren makes an appearance in it, and it's actually absolutely hilarious. Fantastic. Down another bang. And an hour. So the last thing on this page, I still have 2 full pages of notes, so we still got about probably a good another 20 plus minutes left in this episode, maybe 30 minutes. So let's continue. Scientists discover a hell planet that sounds like Mustafar, which is the place in Revenge of the Sith where Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin fought, and it was the lava world, and eventually it became like the secret headquarters for the Emperor and made an appearance in the Clone Wars and some other another movie, The Rebels. I think it was in that as well, which takes place after or before Star Wars and stuff like that. So this planet is covered in lava. It rains rocks. Not hail, not sleet, rocks. It's, as I said, covered in lava. It's so close to its star that the gravity of the star does not allow the planet to rotate. So one side is in perpetual sunlight where the temperature gets to 858 million degrees or something like that. And the other side is in perpetual darkness where it drops to like 300 million degrees below zero. So it is the definition of a hell planet. But it's out there. And also winds on the surface are faster than the speed of sound. I don't want to go there. I'd rather go to the place that rains diamonds. Actually, no, that's Jupiter's atmosphere. So that wouldn't be too good either. Anyway, let's cover some of the deaths this week. Elsa Raven, actress in Back to the Future who was a Save the Clock Tower, the original 1985. She also was in Titanic. She died at the age of 91 this week. Carol Arthur, Blazing Saddles actress, who was the wife of Dom DeLuise, dies at the age of 85. Dom died years ago. I don't know who she was in Blazing Saddles. She might have been the hot chick that is hanging out with Mel Brooks. I don't know. Grand Theft Auto actor Terry Marshall dies. Surface and Bones actor Eddie Hassel was killed in a carjacking, which is a sad story. Charles Gordon, the producer of Field of Dreams and Die Hard, died at the age of 73. He probably directed a bunch or produced a whole bunch of other great things. Kenneth Jones, Phantasm actor, died. That was the last story I read before I came on the show, so that's fairly recent. And Vladimir Morogu, who is the Sausage King of Russia, yes, not the Sausage King of Chicago, the Sausage King of Russia, was killed in a sauna by a crossbow. Only in Russia, dude. Only in Russia. I don't know what to say about that. Some other local news. Baltimore Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphreys, one of the best corners in football, announced on Monday after his game against the Steelers that he had COVID-19. So he will be out for this week's game. He has to be out for 10 days. So he will be out for this week's game, and hopefully he'll be back for next week's game. There were 7 Ravens who were in close contact with him that were also put on quarantine this week, so they could not practice. They could go to Zoom meetings and stuff like that, but they were not allowed onto the practice facility until they were cleared by medical staff. One of those guys was cleared on Thursday or Friday, and the others were cleared today. So they're all fine. They will all be playing on tomorrow, but the problem is they really haven't practiced that much. But considering you're in the middle of a football season, you know your playbook pretty good. Granted, you're going to be trying new things against a different team, but still, you can still do easy stuff for those who haven't practiced this week and still be successful. So we'll see what happens about that. I think that's everything for that page, right? Yes, it is. So my microphone keeps sliding, so I better maybe get a new headset. I don't know. So now we're going to do some more science stuff. There's a lot of science stuff here and some really interesting stuff too. First off, methane raindrops that are on Titan, because I love myself some Titan. You know, I always got to do stories about the moon Titan on Saturn's moon Titan. But the methane raindrops that fall on the surface of Titan are double the size of the of our world's raindrops. So, you know how big our raindrops are. They're not that big. The methane raindrops on Titan are double the size of that. So they're the big globular ones, probably about that size. But here's the kicker. Due to the gravity in the atmosphere, stuff like that on Titan, the raindrops fall like snow, which means that they're very slow, methodical raindrops. Bloop. 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 Not like regular rain, just it's bloop. So that's kind of interesting to find out about that. Astronomers have mapped a neutron star surface for the first time ever. So that's pretty cool for those who love science. That's great. For those who believe that there might be life elsewhere in the universe, and there's all kinds of weird stuff that's been going on lately. Here's something else weird to throw in there. This week, a radio signal was discovered to be coming from our Milky Way. It's like it's their version of the calls coming from within your house. So somewhere in our galaxy, the Milky Way, a strange radio, where is that? Strange radio, I just saw it. Mysterious radio signal coming from our Milky Way. It's somewhere in our Milky Way, a mysterious radio signal is emanating. So what does that mean? Who knows? It could mean someone's trying to communicate with us. It could mean that there's something out there which is shooting off these bizarre radio signals that might be man-made, like a black hole or neutron star or something like that. So either way, it's kind of interesting to wait and see what's going to happen with that. Scientists claim that at one time there was a planet between Saturn and Uranus, but it got flung out of our solar system early on in its infancy. So again, like our secondary moon being kicked out to potential secondary moon being kicked out to outside of Mars's orbit, something came through, and while this planet was forming between Saturn and Uranus, it got knocked out of its orbit and is who knows where now. I mean, I think I talked about a rogue planet last week. Could that possibly be the rogue planet? Could this planet have been knocked out somewhere so far away that it was destroyed in a star? Did it get sucked into a black hole? We don't know. But the fact of the matter is, scientists believe that they found proof that there was another planet at one time in between Saturn and Uranus. So that's kind of interesting. Before I get to that really big science one, let me see if there's anything smaller here on this page. Something that's not space related. Researchers construct the first ever complete brain of one of the oldest dinosaurs down to all its different parts and stuff like that. From years of research, they've been able to discover what the brain of this dinosaur actually looks like. So that's kind of interesting. Archaeologists find the largest ever Mayan complex hiding in plain sight. Actually, I think this is the same story as a Mayan water filtration system that was millions of years old has been discovered also. I think it's the same thing. Let me see if I can find... yeah, I can't find it right now. So, but there is yes, I guess it's the same. I think it's the same because they're both Mayans, Mayan stuff. So, yeah, so there was that. So scientists discovered a Mayan water filtration system complex in the middle of the jungle in plain sight. So it's kind of interesting as well. Androids that offer digital immortality have begun mass production in Russia. So Russia is going to be filled with androids, which you can probably upload your brain waves, your spirit, your soul, whatever into to live forever for the most part. So that's something to keep an eye out on. I think that's all the science stuff on this page. There'll be more on the secondary page. So we'll talk about that. Something that isn't science related, but is a weird history. In the early 1900s, you could legally mail a child. So I guess if you wanted to mail your child to its grandparents' house, instead of walking it over, because most people didn't have cars at that time, you could put the baby in a package, I guess, or leave it out on the stoop and the mailman would pick it up and deliver it. Okay. Oh, I didn't talk about that. Then I was setting up for the big story, the big science story. So that's still interesting news. That's a history. We'll just throw a little history in there, and then we'll go back to science real quick. Soline is a protein, a new protein that is being developed that tastes like wheat flour that's used in bread and stuff like that, and has a 50% protein content, 5 to 10% fat content, 20 to 25% carbs content. But what makes this new protein so unique? It's made out of the thin air. Allow me to explain. There is a machine that these people created that is able to suck the CO2 out of our air, because whenever we exhale, we are exhaling carbon dioxide. We are exhaling carbon, and there's carbon all over the place. This machine sucks the carbon CO2 out of the air and turns it into this soline, this protein that they then, not exactly just yet. So you grab it and you're able to create this physical form for it. You mix water and nutrients and vitamins, and it rises. You heat it up over 100% renewable solar energy that heats it up. That in turn causes yeast and lactic acid to form as well. And you're able to create this powder from all that shit that you can throw into protein drinks, water, and then actually bake into food. It is basically a renewable food source that gets taken out of the air and made into this product. It's absolutely a game changer, and they are presently working on it, and we should see some of their results coming out maybe in 2021. But the fact of the matter is, there is now a way to make food out of air. So you can go to places that are starving, take your machine there, grab all the CO2 you can out of this area, create this powder, and bake breads and stuff like that, and you can feed the world. It's a big deal, and it's to continue to see how this goes down the line. Mo Gabba, who is the young man who was about the same age as my daughter, who was a huge Baltimore sports fan and had cancer, which made him blind. But he was always a cheerful sort. He became friends with Scott Garceau and Jeremy Kahn on 105.7 The Fan Radio, and soon having him come on and talk about sports, which he loved to do, in turn got him invites to the Orioles and Ravens, and they signed stuff and they had him do things. He was the first blind person to read a draft pick in the NFL draft a few years ago. He was allowed to interview Oriole players like Manny Machado and Trey Mancini during Fan Fest. He was able to, interview Lamar Jackson and all that stuff as well. He passed away from his cancer earlier this year, and the Ravens and Orioles have been celebrating his life. One of the things the Ravens did this year is they create something called Mo's Rose, where they created cardboard cutouts of Mo and filled a whole section in the stadium. They also, at their home games, where it says Baltimore on the end zones, the Mo, M-O, in Baltimore is a different color than the rest of Baltimore in honor of Mo. Now comes word that Mo will be getting a street name in Baltimore. I would assume it would probably be down somewhere near Camden Yards, Bank of America State, not Bank of America. I think it's the Bank of America. Yeah, Bank of America Stadium, I guess. I don't remember the name of our football stadium. It's just the Ravens Stadium is what I call it now. It's going to be Mo Gabba Way, and that's going to be revealed very soon. So that's a big deal. Some good local news. Something else really good. Something else good, as I said, Election Day was this past Tuesday. A woman who was in labor wanted to make sure that she voted that asshole out of the White House. So while she was in labor, she went and voted and then went to the hospital. And it worked, lady. Good job. Speaking of local news, the Major League Baseball owners have approved John Angelos, the son of Peter Angelos, to take over as owner of the Baltimore Orioles. That's a big deal because Peter Angelos is now in his 80s and is done, I think, for the most part, wanting to have any part of owning the Orioles. And his son John has now taken over as owner. He was basically the owner last few years. It's now official. The NBA, who just literally finished their finals last month, sometime in October, have decided that they want to start their new season 2 months later, in December. December 22nd is now the tentative start date to the new season of the NBA, which is they've reduced it to a 72-game season. But it's right around the time they usually would be playing basketball anyway. But because of COVID, they had that big break between, I guess, March and like September, I guess, was when they came back and they did like a weird kind of round robin sort of tournament to do the playoffs, and had like 15 or 20 playoff teams. Like there's all but 4 teams made the playoffs. And so they all had to play these playoff games, and then you whittle it down, and the Lakers end up winning the NBA championship. But as I said, I think that was literally only last month, and now they want to restart the season December 22nd. A 2-month window is a little ridiculous because in a normal year, the NBA championship is done in June for the most part. So June to July, July to August, August, September. So you get about, the new season starts around Halloween. So you got about a 4-month window before the new season starts. They've reduced that to a 2-month window to keep it going, and not a lot of people are happy about it, including LeBron James. So we'll see how that rolls out. But right now, it's tentatively scheduled to start December 22nd. I think NHL hockey, who also just finished their Stanley Cup championship in October, is actually waiting until New Year's Day to start their season. So they're not actually going to start the season until 2021. So that's a little bit more of a realistic belief. They ended their season before the NBA did. So let's just say I think they ended around October 1st-ish. So October, November, they get a 3-month break window. That seems about more reasonable in this time of COVID. So it's still going to be a reduced season. And maybe that'll help because, and now they'll just, they know how to do it during COVID. So now they'll just run it from January to like May, like they usually do. And then they'll be able to maybe run a regular season after that. So it's not going to go into September. Same with the NBA. That might be why they're doing that as well. So they can get it started and have it end at its usual time in May, June, and then they can start it at their regular time with a logical break and window with training and rest and stuff like that. So to be continued, we'll see what happens. A dad decides, to build a Diagon Alley replica for his daughter, a Harry Potter fan, in an abandoned room that they don't use in their house. They never use it. It was keeping up space. They said, let me just turn this into like kind of a playroom. So he built a replica Diagon Alley in this house, and now his daughter does not leave that room, and it's great and it's well done. Chocolate strawberry Cheerios are going to be coming out probably in the new year or for the holiday season. Who knows? But they'll be coming out soon. The McFlurry at McDonald's is now going here. Or for the holiday season, who knows, but they'll be coming out soon. The McFlurry at McDonald's is now going to be topped with, there is a new McFlurry topped with cinnamon rolls, or cinnamon balls, I should say. I believe that will have a pop-up Fairyland castle in the middle of the game board, so that's kind of neat. Oatmeal cream pies from Little Debbie's are so delicious and so yummy that they decided to team up with Kellogg's to create an oatmeal cream pie. To try, see if it's any good, but the oatmeal cream pies themselves are really good. We have the double, we have to try, see if it's any good, but the oatmeal cream pies themselves are really good. We have the double cream pies at work, so they're really, really good. Mississippi has a new flag voted on by the people. It is absolutely gorgeous. It takes the place of the damn Confederate flag that used to be their flag. Now it's a gorgeous flag with the magnolia in the middle. And I posted this earlier, but I didn't write it down. Mississippi State played football the day, and they always bring out the flag, and it's always sort of a Confederate flag, and they have black athletes on the team, but I think it's always like a white player that brings it out because of the Confederate slavery sort of connection to it. Well, for the first time in a college football game, Mississippi State, a black Mississippi State football player, came out with the new Mississippi flag, and the audience went absolutely crazy. In good way. They cheered and they applauded and they loved it. So that's kind of it. It's a really nice looking flag too. Not as nice as Maryland's, obviously, but still it's nice looking. Here it is. Reese's, my favorite candy. Around the holidays, they do the Reese's Christmas trees, and they're always good because the Reese's Christmas trees and the Reese's pumpkins and the Reese's Easter eggs are the thicker. Are my favorites because they're thicker than your typical Reese's cups. So you get more chocolate and peanut butter flavor you love and adore. Well, Reese's decided they want to try something new this year. They still have the trees because I've seen them out there, but they have now released. Now this goes back to another story I talked about an hour ago. Nutcracker shaped Reese's now. It's the exact same as the Christmas tree, Easter eggs, whatever it is, a regular Reese's cup, but it looks like a Nutcracker. So they'll have different ones, and the wrapping is going to be the colors of the Nutcracker and stuff like that. Oh, excuse me. So that's going to be really cool. Pokemon Go earned $1 billion this year in 2020, their best year ever. So kudos to them. Castle Rock, the series based on multiple Stephen King books and stuff like that, using characters from all these different books, combining into one sort of shared universe, has been canceled by Hulu after only 2 seasons. I guess it wasn't doing as well as people thought it was. Andy Weir, the writer of The Martian, one of my favorite books and movies, his new book called Hail Mary will be coming out May 4th, 2021. The cover looks like it's another space story. It looks like an astronaut on a tether, but the tether is floating away, like he's floating into space. So maybe it's going to be one of these things where it's going to follow a astronaut who has to, similar to like The Martian, where an astronaut has to survive on Mars by himself. Maybe this is now going to be about about an astronaut who has to survive being uncoupled from the International Space Station and is drifting through outer space. So we'll have to find out and see if that is the case. Over in the UK, Milky Bar, which is a brand over there, is releasing a white hot chocolate. Again, hot chocolate is a theme thing, and I've never heard of a white hot chocolate that people can drink. So there you go. Walking Dead is going to have their first ever Christmas special, but it's not what you think. It's not like an episode of the show that takes place around Christmas. At least I don't think it is. From what I read, it's more of a Zoom call sort of thing, similar to The Talking Dead, but they are going to actually do a holiday special that's going to be new material and stuff like that. So we'll see, how that goes. I don't know how much that's, how good it's going to be. It would be great if they did a episode of the holidays, because there was one, and they can't do this now because Lenny Jones's character, I guess whatever his name is, on The Walking Dead is now part of a different Walking Dead show, and they really can't go back to the only Christmas one they did was a short story that Kirkman did in one of the comics that focused on that character's Christmas. Walking Dead also cast Negan's wife, and I forget the actor's name right now, but the actor who plays Negan, his real life wife, who is also an actress, has been cast as Negan's wife. So he's going to be able to act opposite his actual wife playing his on-screen wife. So that should be really interesting as well. Mountain Dew hot sauce is a thing now. It is a hot sauce that is mixed with Mountain Dew. So that might be interesting to try out. And there's also a Mountain Dew body wash that will make you smell like Mountain Dew. Real quick, because I've been chit-chatting. We're an hour and a half in. I don't want to go too much longer, and I still got a whole page of stuff to go, so I might be done in an hour and 45 minutes. But regardless, real quick, the first episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian came out on October 30th, and I didn't get a chance to watch it till after Halloween. I enjoyed it immensely. It was a return to Tatooine, because the Mandalorian is now trying to find Baby Yoda's home. And he thinks if he can find another Mandalorian, he'll be able to help him find a network to be able to tell them where Baby Yoda is supposed to go. So he hears about a Mandalorian who might be on Tatooine. So he goes to Tatooine and discovers a person dressed in Mandalorian armor who is the marshal of a small town in Tatooine. And the Mandalorian is, says, he's not a real Mandalorian, so he is saying, you have to take off the suit and give it to me, or I will kill you and take it off your dead body. So they say, okay, let's do a duel or whatever. And while they're getting ready to do a duel, they are visited by a giant underground worm monster who's been attacking the town and killing people and killing crops and animals and stuff like that. And so the sheriff, who's played actually by Timmy Oliphant, who was in Scream 2, but his claim to fame has been he's probably the modern day version of a John Wayne. He's a really good Western actor. He was in the HBO Western TV show Deadwood, based on the Deadwood, South Dakota town. He played that role for about 5 seasons. And then in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he played an actor who was playing a Western character. So he's into Western. So now, with Mandalorian being sort of a new outer space Western, they got him to be a marshal of a small town sort of thing as well. So they go and they talk to the Sand People, who are also trying to kill this worm, but the Sand People had attacked the town that he was the marshal of, so there's still going to be some bad blood. We learned that the Sand People, that the Mandalorian speaks the Sand People's language, and also the Sand People speak in a version of sign language that the Mandalorian also understands. So they're able to make a deal where the townspeople and the Sand People will find this worm's home and destroy it, and they have to work together to do that. And if that works and the Mandalorian helps them, the sheriff will give the armor to him personally. So obviously, spoiler alert, things work out fine. It takes a little bit of time, but it's one of the funniest episodes also, but one of the greatest ones to see Tim Oliphant as a great character. And he was so well loved after his one appearance that people have been demanding a spin-off series for him. And Disney's like, okay. So you might be able to get a spin-off series of this guy, and so you can make it like a typical Western. Instead of it being like The Mandalorian where he goes all over the place, you can keep it set in one town and have it deal with like all the people that come through there. So that could be kind of interesting. So the big reveal, and here's major spoilers. So if you've not seen Mandalorian season 2, episode 1, mute now and come back in about 5 minutes or whatever. The big reveal is that the Mandalorian armor that the marshal had been wearing, the sheriff had been wearing, whatever, was actually Boba Fett's armor. At the very end of the episode, a unarmored Boba Fett watches as the Mandalorian flies away. We know it's Boba Fett because Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett in the prequels, and we learned that all the clone troopers are his DNA, and he wanted one clone to be his son that he named Boba, who looks like him, so we know that that's Boba Fett. They also gave away how he could have escaped the Sarlacc. This worm creature, he eats Sarlaccs, so very well this worm creature could have eaten a Sarlacc that had Boba Fett in it, and he flew out and escaped somehow. The Jawas found him, or found his armor or whatever, and took his armor because the marshal was picked up by the Jawas and found the armor, and that's why he had it. So that should be interesting to see. Have not seen episode 2 yet. They're coming out on Fridays now, so we're going to try to get into a Friday set, but we just haven't watched it yet. Again, we were going to watch it tonight, but because President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris were going to speak, we would have watched that instead. So we'll find out about it. So it was well worth it. It was good. I've heard a lot of good things about the second episode, so we'll see what happens. All right. We got one more full page of stuff to do, and we've got very little time to do it. So I'm going to try to do this within the next 12 minutes. So bear with me here. Aldi is going to be selling turkey and stuffing flavored potato chips. That's kind of interesting for those with Thanksgiving coming up, and you get a turkey and stuffing flavored potato chip. It's a kind of a neat idea. A burning Godzilla humidifier is a new thing now. It's a humidifier that shoots out the humidifier mist, so it looks like smoke coming out of his mouth. And the Godzilla looks like the one that's getting ready to explode fire on people. A lost chameleon not seen since World War II has been rediscovered. He's still around, and they found him, and everything all is good. Halloween, as I said, was this past weekend, and hundreds of witches were seen paddleboarding down a river in Portland, Oregon to celebrate the arrival of Halloween last week. A police officer was killed by a rooster while breaking up a cockfight. That's a sad story, but at the same time, it's kind of a what the fuck story. A coral reef the size of the Empire State Building was found off the coast of Australia. So that's an insanely huge coral reef. A giant, I guess, sloth-like cryptid has been discovered in the Amazon. So there is a new cryptid out there now. It is a giant-sized sloth creature. Grilled cheeseburger Doritos are coming soon. The hamburger potato chips I've had before from Pringles and some other ones have not been good. So we'll see what happens and see if Doritos can do better than other people. Gingerbread cookie flavored pancakes are going to be available now from Eggo for the holidays. Oreos dunking set is back. It was a set that included Oreos, glass, you put your milk in, a dipping thing, so you can dip your Oreos into the milk all together in one spot. Elon Musk eyes mining an asteroid worth $700 quintillion with NASA. This was an asteroid that was discovered that has multiple precious metals that if it landed on Earth and it was broken up into pieces and sold, it would be worth $700 quintillion, which is way more than $1 billion. And it would totally destroy probably the world economy. Or maybe it won't, but who knows? But Elon Musk wants to mine it, and it's not probably for good. He's just trying to do it for more money. So we'll see about that. I love French dip. It's pretty easy to make. I made it before. It's just roast beef, Swiss cheese on a submarine sandwich roll, sandwich roll, and you get a special sort of au jus sort of beef gravy, not beef gravy really, it's more of a beef broth flavored stuff. Arby's has a really good French dip sandwich that I love. But now you can get French dip squares, which is a little bit easier to dip into the au jus and not in the big sandwich. That might be something to look into in the future. Granted, my kids didn't like the au jus sauce, which doesn't make any sense because it doesn't taste like anything except, and not in the big sandwich. That might be something to look into in the future. Granted, my kids didn't like the au jus sauce, which doesn't make any sense because it doesn't taste like anything except for beef broth, but that's besides the point. The hell is that? Oh, Cinnabon has a rolled pancake kit that you can create for your holiday Christmas breakfast. So it's almost like a, what do you call it? I had it as a crepe, but it's a Cinnabon flavored sort of crepe. So that's kind of neat. Crock Pot Reese's cake. As I said, I have extreme love for Reese's. There was a recipe for a crock pot Reese's cake, which included, Reese's pieces and other stuff. So that might be an interesting thing to look into. Cookie dough fudge. That sounds like a really interesting tasting fudge. Might be pretty good. Oh, that's the one I talked about already. Boom. That'll be the last story I talk about. No, these would be the last two stories to talk about. Friendly's, that restaurant Friendly's is filing for bankruptcy. That's been expected for a while because it hasn't been around for a while. Duncan Hines and Swiss Miss have joined forces to create hot cocoa cake mix and frosting. See, I'm telling you, hot cocoa is going to be the flavor du jour of this holiday season. So you're going to actually have a hot cocoa cake and frosting. So that could be good, maybe. Andrew Lincoln, the former star of Walking Dead, has actually been cast as Ebenezer Scrooge in a version of A Christmas Carol over in London. Don't know if it's a play or if it's going to be a video or a movie or whatever, but he has been cast as, I think it's a TV show, or a TV movie, has been cast as Ebenezer Scrooge. Whale sculpture catches a crashed Dutch metro train. So this train was careening off the tracks. People thought they were going to die, but there was a giant whale statue that was able to stop and catch the metro train, and nobody was killed. There might have been some injuries, but nobody was killed, which is a good thing. I need to get caught up on a bunch of stuff, including Cobra Kai, the TV show that follows Ralph Macchio's Daniel from Karate Kid, and William Zabka's Johnny, who was that they were rivals in the first Karate Kid movie. And the new show has been getting phenomenal ratings on Netflix once it moved from YouTube. Sorry, YouTube, but it's a fact. And it's been getting phenomenal ratings. Third season is going to be coming up in January. And speculation is already going on about it. But the newest thing, actually, they bring the receipts. They believe that they know how the story arcs is going to take place in Japan. Now, remember, at the original Karate Kid, which is a great movie, but to be honest, my favorite is still Karate Kid 2. It's where Daniel and Mr. Miyagi go to Japan because Mr. Miyagi's father, I think, is dying, and he wants to do last rites and stuff like that. But he hasn't been back for a while because there was, he was supposed to marry a woman, but she ended up being betrothed to best friend, but she didn't love the best friend, and so they became enemies, sort of that sort of thing. So he has to go back to deal with that. Now his best friend is still mad at him, and he has started training a new karate person who's a lot more vicious than even Johnny was. And so Mr. Miyagi is continuing to train Daniel in the Miyagi Prefecture, which is where he grew up, and learn more about Miyagi's, karate life and stuff like that. So it's gorgeous scenery, filmed in Japan, a great storyline, amazing story. And we know for a fact that the third season, due to what happened, the cliffhanger of season 2, both Danny and Johnny are not in a really good place right now. They need to get away and refine their chi because they're karate people. So Daniel learns of something about Mr. Miyagi that he has to go to Japan to investigate. And we believe that now that Johnny has been removed as Cobra Kai sensei and honored by his old boss, Reese, Johnny's, and there's other stuff which I'm not going to get into, but there's a lot of bad stuff happening right now. Johnny needs to get away also. So a Redditor or something like that started making not a wild accusation, but made an accusation with some really interesting points. He said, what if season 3 of Cobra Kai, the story arc of Johnny and Danny's, because of other characters and they'll follow their arcs elsewhere. But what if Johnny and Danny's story arc is going to mirror Mr. Miyagi and Danny's story arc from Karate Kid Part 2? Basically meaning that Daniel and Johnny are now connected by this tragedy that happened at the end of season 2. Daniel needs to refocus, and maybe he decides it's time that maybe we need to clear the air because of our rivalry has affected other people now. So maybe Daniel, who, as I said, we already know is going to go to Japan to redo his chi and learn some more stuff about Mr. Miyagi, and apparently learns a secret about Mr. Miyagi he didn't know and has to go investigate it. Maybe he's going to stumble upon Johnny and say, dude, we need to get the hell out of Dodge and we need to get our chi back. Let's go to Japan. I got to go anyway. We'll get you away from everything into a gorgeous area. We can, I can train you. I can teach you about Miyagi stuff to help maybe get you to refocus and get your chi back, which is sort of similar to what Mr. Miyagi and Dan did. So in this case, Danny is going to take the role of Mr. Miyagi, and Johnny's going to take the role of Danny from Karate Kid 2. And so they said there's going to be a bunch of stuff, similar stuff that happened in Karate Kid 2, which very well could show up in Cobra Kai 3. That's what a lot of people believe is going to happen. And to be honest, I was one of the thought that went through my head when I heard all about this. And I said, that would be an absolutely brilliant idea. So here's hoping that Cobra Kai does do that for season 3. And before that happens, I need to get caught up on that. They're only like half-hour long shows, so maybe I'll do that some period as well. So that could be an interesting thing because, as I said, Karate Kid Part 2 is my favorite Karate Kid of them all. And the fact that if Cobra Kai is going to do a version of it, a updated version of it with Johnny and Danny, that would be a really good idea. Might be a lot of fun to watch. So that's to be continued. Now, the final two stories of the week is going to take us past the 145 mark, but that's okay. I haven't had a long episode in a while, and I haven't had, knock on wood, any tech issues. So that's fantastic. So I'm good on that. So Kate Winslet has smashed Tom Cruise's underwater for 6 minutes. And of course, after I say that, condition is unstable. Please wait while we try reconnecting. Kate Winslet, who is in James Cameron's Avatar 2, which we know is based in an underwater portion of Avatar's planet, beat the record by 1 minute. She held her breath and acted for 7 minutes. So that's kind of impressive. So good job to that on Kate Winslet. And finally, the final story of today, because as I saw, I got one disc starting to maybe get some tech issues after I said, this is as of November 2nd, so it could be more than that now. Come on, man. Really? Are you doing this to me? All right. With a whopping 7,42967,886. So let's make this episode of Dylan Knows be a 7 billion viewed video. Obviously, they heard me talking, so now the tech issues start to come in. I'm going to end my show now. Thank you for watching. Next week, we're back to, kind of back to normal now with this election day stuff being over with. We'll see what the next upcoming week is going to bring us. So fare thee well, everyone. Be safe and be careful out there because COVID is still a thing. And President-elect Biden, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, sorry.